but because he had seen a challenge, adapted to it, and used creativity, courage, and intuition to turn the impossible into reality. The fallen giant, fully awakened, now followed his command willingly. Together, they patrolled systems, defended colonies, and even assisted in evacuations from war-torn regions. They became symbols of hope and of the human spirit's ability to rise above any obstacle. A bond beyond metal. One evening, as the stars glittered silently outside the observation deck, Eli placed a hand on the console, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. "Human Eli Mercer," the ship said softly. "I owe my life to you." "You don't owe me," Eli said quietly. "You and I, we helped each other. And we're just getting started." "I am no longer a weapon," the warship said. "I am a partner, guided by your mind, your courage." Ellie smiled. "Exactly. Together, we'll show the galaxy what humans can do." The fallen giant pulsed brighter, a living testament to the fusion of alien perfection and human ingenuity. Its power was unmatched, but it was tempered by the human heart that commanded it. And for Eli, the mechanic who once boarded a broken warship out of curiosity, it was only the beginning. The galaxy would never forget the day a colossal warship pleaded for aid, and a human mechanic turned it into a galactic power. The warship's forward cannons were charged, glowing white-hot. The gravity fields formed a narrow, concentrated corridor. The enemy dreadnought advanced into it, unaware of the trap. "Now!" Eli shouted. A pulse of concentrated gravity slammed the dreadnought. Its weapons locked up. Its engines struggled against invisible forces. Before the enemy could react, plasma beams struck, tearing through the hull. Explosions rippled along the ship as it shattered into pieces, drifting silently into the void. The remaining enemy fleet, seeing their largest ship destroyed, turned in panic. They had underestimated a human mechanic and the colossal warship he had awakened. A moment of reflection, the battlefield quieted. Smoke and debris floated across the void. Thousands of enemy ships had been destroyed or scattered. The fallen giant floated intact, its systems glowing in triumph. Ellie sat back in the command chair, exhausted but exhilarated. His hands shook slightly. "We did it," he said softly. "Yes," the warship replied. "We did it together." For the first time, Eli felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just survival. This was human ingenuity shaping the galaxy. A creature that had once begged for help now stood as a galactic power under a human commander. K1 hovered near him. "You know, humans don't usually do things like this," the drone said. "We mostly repair ships or run cargo. Well, we're full of surprises." The aftermath. News spread across the galaxy. Observers from distant systems reported a warship that moved unpredictably, fired with unthinkable precision, and defeated fleets larger than itself. Analysts and historians debated, trying to explain it, but there was no simple explanation. The answer was human. Eli became a legend, not because of brute force, not because of alien technology. The first wave was decimated before they even reached firing range. They did not expect this, the ship's voice noted with approval. Eli tapped into the plasma batteries. Fire staggered. Massive beams tore through the enemy ships, precise and chaotic at the same time. The Dominion's fleet command was thrown into confusion. Communication lines scrambled, automated targeting systems failed, and pilots could not predict the gravity distortions. For every standard fleet maneuver, the fallen giant had a counter. Not because the ship was perfect, because Eli's human mind saw the chaos the enemy could not. Adaptive warfare. Hours passed. The battle raged, with thousands of ships engaged across kilometers of empty space. The fallen giant took damage, but it adapted with incredible speed. Eli worked alongside the warship like a conductor directing a symphony. He directed energy flows, gravity spikes, and plasma barrages with quick intuition. When one system began overheating, he diverted power elsewhere. When enemy reinforcements arrived, he used the cloak pulses to scatter their formations, turning superior numbers into disarray. "Humans are unpredictable," the warship admitted. "You think in ways my creators never considered. And that's why we win," Eli replied. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the enemy began to falter. Ships collided. Weapon systems misfired. Fleets broke apart under the chaotic gravity fields and staggered attacks. Eli realized this was not just a victory of technology, but of human adaptability and creativity. Every move he made relied on instinct and improvisation. No AI could match that. No ancient fleet had ever faced it. Turning the tide, by mid-battle, the enemy had begun retreating, but not entirely. One massive Dominion dreadnought, bristling with weapons, pushed forward with reckless determination. Eli's eyes narrowed. All right, time to end this. He trusted the crew of scavengers who had begun to follow him, and most of all, he trusted himself. We are ready, the warship's voice echoed in his mind. The galaxy has underestimated you, human. They will not again. Eli nodded. Let's hope they're ready for what we can do too. The invasion fleet arrives. Sensors picked up a massive jump signature. A fleet larger than anything Eli had ever seen in his life appeared almost instantaneously. A combined force of Dominion remnants, mercenary warships, and rogue fleets. Thousands of vessels, all converging on the fallen giant. Eli swore. This isn't salvage anymore. This is war. Artistic Hull shuddered with anticipation. They are predictable. Their formations rigid, their strategy inflexible. Good, Eli said, tapping at the console. Predictable means we can break them. The humans in the salvage crew had experience with small skirmishes, evasions, and hit-and-run attacks, but nothing on this scale. Every decision mattered. A single miscalculation could destroy the fallen giant, or worse, the galaxy might lose the human-led force that now commanded it. Eli's mind raced. He began activating the full suite of the ship's newly restored systems, gravity distorters ready to crush or scatter enemy formations, plasma cannons primed to fire in staggered, unpredictable bursts, cloaking pulses modified for battlefield confusion, defense drones fully reprogrammed with human improvisation. I can sense your intent, human, the ship said. We will act as one. Eli smiled. Exactly. The battle begins. The enemy fleet advanced in perfect formation. Thousands of lasers, plasma bolts, and missiles converged on the fallen giant. Eli gave a single command. Gravity spike center array. The ship's modified gravity field erupted. Entire sections of the enemy fleet twisted in space, colliding or spinning helplessly. He looked up. Yeah? You are no longer merely mechanic. The lights brightened gently. You are my commander. Eli laughed weakly. Guess I got promoted. This was bigger than survival now. The galaxy had just witnessed an ancient warship defeat a Dominion fleet. Word would spread faster than light. Fear would spread with it. A new reputation. Across nearby systems, hidden observers had recorded everything. The chaotic gravity waves, the flickering cloak, the overwhelming plasma strike. Analysts struggled to understand how such an old vessel performed tactics no modern fleet used. The answer was simple. It thought like a human. Back on the fallen giant, Eli stood before the starfield again. The ship felt different now, confident, awake. He placed his hand on the console. We're not done, he said quietly. They'll come back, bigger fleets. Smarter commanders, then we will adapt. Eli smiled. That was the difference. Alien empires built perfection. Humans built improvement. Together, they were something entirely new. A colossal warship once begged for aid. Now it stood as a rising force in the galaxy. And this time, it was led by a human. The stars shone cold and distant as the fallen giant floated silently through the outer rim of the Ivorian system. Eli Mercer stood on the main command deck, gripping the console with both hands. The colossal warship beneath him hummed with life, fully awake now, its systems operating at peak efficiency. Quiet before the storm, he muttered, staring at the sensor readouts. It was no longer a question of survival. The Dominion, or worse, would return. Word had spread of the fallen giant's rebirth, and powerful factions across the galaxy were watching. Some wanted it destroyed. Some wanted it captured. Eli's heart thumped. He wasn't afraid, not of death, not of fleets. He trusted the ship, the cost of power. But power had a price. Inside the ship, systems began overheating. Human-alien integration pushed energy flows beyond safe limits. Sparks erupted in nearby consoles. Core temperature rising, K1 warned. The warship's voice sounded strained. Structural stress exceeding projections. Eli's heart pounded. If the core overloaded, the explosion would destroy everything in the system, including him. He closed his eyes briefly. Think alien systems sought balance. Human systems allowed sacrifice. He made a choice. Divert excess energy to forward cannon. All of it. Risk level extreme. I know. Energy surged through the ship like lightning through veins. The forward plasma cannon, ancient and massive, began to glow white-hot. Dominion ships attempted retreat. Too late. Fire. The beam that erupted was not just plasma. It was fury. A concentrated column of stellar energy tore through the center of the Dominion fleet. 3 capital ships vanished instantly. Shockwaves scattered the rest. Silence followed. What remained of the Dominion fleet retreated into hyperspace without another word. The battlefield was empty. The fallen giant floated alone among drifting debris, victorious. Aftermath. Inside, systems flickered dangerously. Eli rushed toward the core chamber. The glow was unstable again. He began emergency repairs, hands moving fast, sweat running down his face. "Stay with me," he muttered. "Operational. Yeah, but barely. Arrive stabilizing the energy flow, cooling overheated conduits, replacing burned circuits with improvised human components. Finally, the core stabilized. The hum returned to steady rhythm. Eli collapsed against the wall, exhausted. On the command deck, a soft light spread across the walls. Systems aligned smoothly. Power levels steadied. The warship spoke clearly now, stronger than ever before. Human Eli Mercer. 3 Dominion ships suddenly veered off course as invisible distortions grabbed them. One collided with another. Formations broke instantly. Dominion computers could not calculate the shifting gravitational waves. Panic spread through their fleet communication channels. Eli's eyes lit up. That's right. You can't solve chaos. Targeting solutions ready. Fire, but staggered pattern. Don't follow a rhythm. The warship obeyed. Massive plasma blasts erupted, not in perfect sequence, but in unpredictable intervals. Dominion shields failed under the uneven assault. 2 ships were disabled immediately. Another exploded. The battlefield turned into confusion. A commander is born. But the Dominion was powerful. They adapted quickly. Heavy cruisers moved forward, launching concentrated bombardment. Smaller fighters swarmed toward weak points in the fallen giant's hull. One blast punched through an outer defense grid. Explosions rippled across the surface. Eli gritted his teeth. Reroute power from secondary arrays. Boost port shields. Done. The warship no longer hesitated. It trusted him completely. Fighters closed in fast. Eli activated the cloaking module, another system he had partially restored, but he didn't use it the way the aliens originally designed. Instead of full invisibility, he triggered pulse cloaking. The ship flickered in and out of visibility in irregular intervals. Dominion targeting systems failed instantly. Missiles passed through empty space. Energy beams hit nothing. Eli leaned forward, fully focused now. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was commanding a superweapon. Gravity spike, short burst directly ahead. Space folded violently. 5 enemy fighters were crushed instantly as localized gravity multiplied around them. The Dominion fleet finally realized the truth. This was no relic. This was a reborn predator. The warship pulsed with surprise. This pattern cannot be predicted. Exactly. Now, instead of creating simple gravity wells, the warship could create chaotic distortions. Battlefield conditions no fleet computer could calculate. It was the first true fusion of alien perfection and human creativity. And it would not be the last. Visitors from the core systems. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected something terrifying. A military fleet. Not scavengers. Not pirates. A recognized galactic power. The Valorian Dominion. 27 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. sleek, organized, deadly. The Dominion did not negotiate with threats. They erased them. On the main screen, a transmission appeared. A tall alien figure with silver skin and glowing eyes stared forward. "This vessel is property of the Valorian Dominion," the alien commander said coldly. "Power down and surrender control immediately." "Property," he muttered. "You guys just got here." The warship's voice was calm, but tense. "They were enemies of my creators." Eli nodded slowly. "Figures." The Dominion fleet began spreading out, surrounding the fallen giant in a tightening circle. They were not afraid. They believed this ancient warship was still crippled. They were wrong. First strike. Without waiting for surrender, the Dominion opened fire. Brilliant beams of concentrated energy slammed into the fallen giant's shields. The entire ship shook violently. Warning alarms blared. "Shields holding at 48%, Eli shouted. The warship responded instantly, adjusting defensive angles. But the Dominion fleet was precise. Coordinated. Predictable. Too predictable. Eli activated the modified gravity core. "Let's test the upgrade." The gravity field expanded outward in a chaotic pulse. Space itself twisted. "Easy," Eli muttered. "Small thruster adjustment. Don't overcorrect." Its engines, once silent for centuries, burned with controlled blue fire. The entire vessel shifted smoothly. It was no longer just alive. It was learning, and so was Eli. Over the past weeks, the ship had grown stronger. Power systems were now stable. Defensive shields functioned at 60%. Plasma batteries were operational. The gravity manipulation core, one of its most terrifying features, was partially restored. But partially was not enough. Eli knew something bigger was coming. Scavengers had retreated. That meant word had spread. And in the galaxy, powerful people did not ignore rumors about ancient superweapons waking up. The upgrade no alien expected. Eli floated inside the gravity core chamber, tools magnetized to his belt. The chamber glowed with swirling energy. Alien technology curved around him in elegant, impossible shapes. The warship's voice echoed inside his mind. This system was never meant to be altered. Eli smirked. "Yeah? Well, humans were never meant to survive half the stuff we survive either." He had an idea. Dangerous, crazy, and completely human. The alien gravity system was precise. Too precise. It calculated perfectly. It followed strict rules. Humans didn't. Eli connected a human-made adaptive combat processor into the gravity control network. It was salvaged from an old Earth destroyer, primitive compared to alien systems, but it could improvise. "Let's give you something new," he said. Unpredictability. The moment he activated it, the entire chamber vibrated. Warning lights flashed. System conflict detected. "Relax," Eli said, typing fast. "You're not losing control. You're expanding it." For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then, not in the old smooth, predictable pattern, but in shifting waves. "Alive? We're not just surviving. We're going to fight, but we'll fight smart. Follow my lead." The warship responded instantly, stabilizing energy shields and rerouting power to its partial weapon systems. Plasma turrets hummed. Gravity modulators pulsed, creating small distortions in the void that sent pursuing ships spinning off course. Eli worked frantically, guiding the warship, predicting enemy maneuvers, and improvising strategies no AI could calculate. The scavenger fleet fired relentlessly, but the fallen giant, partially restored and guided by human intuition, dodged, deflected, and disabled their attacks. One by one, it wasn't perfect. Sparks flew, panels cracked, and for a moment, it seemed they might lose. But Eli's quick thinking, combined with the warship's raw power, turned the tide. The enemy ships, unable to predict his human tactics, were forced to retreat. Breathing heavily, Eli slumped in the control chair. The fallen giant pulsed steadily now, stronger than before. Its voice resonated in his mind. "Human, you are more than I expected. Together, we are unstoppable." Eli smiled, exhaustion mixing with exhilaration. "We're just getting started," he whispered. "There's more to do and more to fix. But I like this. I like working with you." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the revival of a legend. The fallen giant, once abandoned and begging for aid, now hummed with life, guided by a human mechanic whose courage, creativity, and determination had begun to awaken a galactic power. And somewhere deep inside, Eli knew the galaxy would soon notice. The fallen giant no longer drifted like a corpse in space. It moved. Slowly, carefully, but it moved. Eli stood on the main command deck, staring at the starfield ahead. The massive view screen flickered, still damaged in places, but operational. Outside, the stars stretched across the void like scattered diamonds. The warship, colossal and ancient, depended on him as much as he relied on it. Together, they could survive threats no one had survived before. But challenges kept coming. As he worked, Eli noticed subtle sabotage attempts, traps left in the system, likely by scavengers who had infiltrated the ship before. Panels rigged to overload, doors designed to lock him in, automated drones still partially active and hostile. Eli had to be careful, thinking 10 steps ahead. Each repair became a mix of engineering and puzzle solving, every mistake potentially fatal. And yet, he persevered. He rewired power grids to stabilize the core, adapted alien energy conduits to human engineering standards, and even restored the gravity manipulation modules partially. It was delicate work, but it showed him the true potential of the warship. If fully restored, it could manipulate the battlefield itself, turning the tide against fleets many times its size. Late one night, he found a chamber filled with alien weapons caches. Most were damaged beyond repair, but some plasma rifles, energy grenades, and shield modulators could be salvaged. Eli rigged them to interface with human technology, creating hybrid systems that worked with his small salvage ship. "You're going to be something else when we're done," he whispered to the warship. A force no one can ignore. But the real test came unexpectedly. Sensors screamed as a full fleet of scavenger ships jumped into the system. Dozens of vessels, armed to the teeth, came for the fallen giant. Eli felt his chest tighten. This was no longer a simple salvage mission. They wanted the ship. They would kill him if necessary. Eli took a deep breath, recalling every system he had repaired. The ship's pulse grew stronger, as if it too sensed the danger. He climbed to the central command deck and gripped the main console. "Listen up," he said aloud. Another attempt at a ramming attack, only to be caught in an energy pulse that the ship emitted, a residual power that Eli had not even intended to trigger. The pulse threw the scavenger ship into the void, unharmed but incapacitated. "Not bad for a day's work," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. K1 chirped in approval. After the attack, Eli realized that restoring the warship wasn't just about repair. It was about strategy, anticipation, and improvisation. Humans could think in unpredictable ways, see opportunities and dangers the alien systems hadn't accounted for. The warship pulsed lightly, almost as if it were smiling. "Human, you are clever." Eli chuckled. "You're not so bad yourself. But we have a long way to go." Days passed. Eli pushed further into the ship, uncovering alien databanks filled with historical records. The warship had been part of a massive fleet designed to dominate star systems with speed, firepower, and fear. Its systems were centuries ahead of anything human engineers had seen, but brittle and unadaptable. Humans, he realized, could adapt. That was their edge. He worked on the navigational systems next. The starship's guidance array was ancient but sophisticated, capable of predicting enemy fleet movements light years away. Eli's human modifications allowed it to function again, integrating human-style sensor mapping with alien foresight algorithms. For the first time, the warship could see the stars clearly, not as data points, but as a map ready to be used strategically. One evening, Eli sat in the control chamber, exhausted, staring at the glowing core. "You've got potential," he whispered. "A lot more than you think. But the galaxy, it won't wait for us to get ready. They'll come for you and me." "Yes, they will come," the warship replied softly in his mind. "But we will be ready." Eli allowed himself a small smile. That was the first real sense of partnership. And slowly, step by step, the warship began to respond to him. During one of his inspections, Eli discovered the weapon systems. Massive plasma cannons lined the hull, damaged and unresponsive. Sensors revealed energy storage units partially burned out. He traced circuits, improvising replacements using spare parts from his salvage ship. He couldn't fully repair them yet, but he restored basic control, enough to make the weapons functional, on a small scale. The ship's core pulsed brighter with each success. It began communicating more clearly in his mind, not just faint pleas. Careful. Energy unstable. Follow my pattern. Eli nodded. Got it, he replied aloud, as if speaking to a coworker. We'll do this together, step by step. But the warship's revival did not go unnoticed. Sensors in nearby systems, scavenger outposts, and pirate networks began to detect the colossal energy signatures. Rumors spread an ancient warship, supposedly extinct, was alive again. One morning, as Eli inspected the propulsion system, a warning flashed across the console. Unauthorized vessel, approaching. He squinted at the sensor feed. Small ships, lightly armed, probably scavengers, hoping for an easy claim. Of course, Eli muttered, gripping a wrench. They smell opportunity. The ships fired warning shots, small plasma bolts that ricocheted harmlessly off the damaged hull. Eli ducked instinctively. The warship groaned, vibrating under the minor impact. He spoke into the control panel, almost instinctively commanding it. Do not fire. Wait. Let me handle this. The sensors blinked. For the first time, Eli realized the ship trusted him. It would follow his guidance, even without fully understanding his human logic. He activated the partially repaired plasma turrets. Using careful targeting, he disabled one approaching ship, sending it spinning harmlessly away. I'll make you whole again. A sudden vibration ran through the hull. Not an alarm, not a threat. A response. The warship's voice, weak but clear, echoed in his mind. Human, thank you. Eli smiled tiredly. We're just getting started. And in the quiet of the abandoned corridors, amidst broken panels and floating debris, the fallen giant had begun to stir. Eli woke to a faint vibration beneath his feet. The warship's pulse had grown stronger overnight, like a faint heartbeat. He rubbed his eyes and took a deep breath, staring at the massive control chamber. For the first time, he felt something close to hope. The fallen giant was responding. Morning, K1, he said, stretching. The small drone hovered beside him, blinking softly. Looks like we survived another night. Not fully awake, not fully alive, but alive enough to guide him. He stepped carefully along the corridors, taking in the progress. Panels flickered with soft light. Damaged conduits had been partially stabilized, and some of the massive engines hummed faintly. The ship groaned as if testing its limbs, tentative but curious. Eli began the day's work with methodical precision. First, he tackled the alien energy conduits. They were delicate and temperamental. One wrong connection, and the core could overload. He had no blueprint, only intuition and years of experience fixing human machinery. This is insane, he muttered, watching the blue plasma arc between connectors. But somehow, it's working. The ship pulsed again, almost like it was acknowledging his words. Eli laughed softly. Yeah, we're partners now, I guess. I fix, you hum. Eli improvised tools, crafted adapters, and rewired systems that had been dead for centuries. Every time he thought he had a solution, the alien engineering forced him to rethink it. But that was the thrill. Human creativity against an ancient alien mind. He approached it, tools in hand, and felt a wave of awe. This is it, he murmured. The heart. If I can fix this, you'll wake. Alien engineering defied logic, but patterns emerged. He began stabilizing energy flows, connecting makeshift conduits, and carefully bypassing damaged circuits. The ship shuddered under his touch, alive in its discomfort, but it let him work. Then came the warning signs. A surge in the failing core triggered alarms, weak, flickering lights, and the groan of strained machinery. Sparks flew dangerously close. Eli barely leapt out of the way. Easy, easy, he muttered, calming himself. We're in this together. Hours passed, and the core began to stabilize. glowing brighter. The ship's hum grew louder, resonating through the corridors. Eli smiled, feeling the first real sign of success. We're getting there, slowly, but we're getting there. But even as hope grew, danger lingered. The system was unstable. A wrong move could destroy the core, and with it, both Eli and the warship. He knew he needed more help, more resources, but he also knew something fundamental. The warship's survival depended on human creativity, intuition, and courage. Alien tech was advanced, but it had no flexibility, no instinct to adapt like humans could. Eli lay down for a short rest, his body exhausted, but his mind racing. He imagined what the warship could be if fully restored. Gravity manipulation, cloaking entire fleets, plasma arrays capable of destroying planets. The possibilities were staggering, but he also realized that the galaxy wasn't kind. Other scavengers, factions, and powers would see this massive, partially restored warship and try to claim it. For now, though, the giant was safe. It pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat, and Eli felt a bond forming. He whispered into the dim chamber, "Don't worry, I'm here. I won't let them take you." Most people would leave now, call for backup, or run for the airlock. But he couldn't. Something about this wounded giant stirred something in him. A need to fix, to heal, to awaken what once ruled the stars. Hours turned into days. Eli worked tirelessly, crawling through maintenance shafts and climbing shattered stairwells. He patched leaking conduits with scrap metal, rerouted damaged power lines, and used his limited supplies to stabilize failing systems. Every time he fixed a small section, the ship hummed in response, almost as if it were breathing. He discovered parts of the warship's history etched into its memory banks. It had been the pride of an empire long gone, a vessel built to control star systems with unmatched firepower. Now, stripped of glory, it drifted like a wounded beast, begging for aid. Eli felt a strange respect, even awe. He wasn't just repairing a machine, he was giving life back to history itself. But the task wasn't simple. Alien technology resisted him at every turn. He tried standard human protocols, only to watch systems reject his interventions. Some machinery sparked dangerously, others silently shut down, refusing to cooperate. He improvised, crafting new tools, creating adapters on the fly, and sometimes using brute force when finesse failed. At night, if he could call the dim lights night, Eli spoke to the ship. "I know you've seen empires fall. I know you've destroyed worlds. But you don't have to be alone." "Not anymore." The ship's reply was subtle at first, a flicker of light, a shiver through the hull. Gradually, as days passed, it became clearer, stronger. It recognized him, trusted him, and even guided him through systems he couldn't comprehend. One morning, Eli found a massive control chamber, the heart of the ship. It was in ruins, wires hanging like vines, floors scorched from past battles. A massive core sat in the center, cracked but glowing faintly. Its core hummed weakly, pulsing with an irregular rhythm. Something inside was watching him, waiting. Against the better judgment of every salvage rule he had ever learned, Eli made his decision. "We board it," he said, gripping the controls. "We find out what it wants." The docking sequence was tricky. The ship's outer hull had long been stripped of its docking ports, leaving jagged metal edges. Eli maneuvered with care, guiding the small craft alongside a weakened section that seemed almost like an invitation. With a careful jolt, the hatch locked in place. He suited up, checking oxygen levels, magnetic boots, and tools. His pulse thumped in rhythm with the ship's faint energy core as he stepped into the alien corridor. The airlock hissed shut behind him, sealing him off from the safety of his small craft. Inside, the warship was silent, but alive in its own eerie way. Panels flickered dimly, casting long shadows over the massive corridors. Machinery groaned as if in pain, the walls pulsating subtly with residual energy. Eli felt it almost instinctively. This ship wasn't just metal and circuits. It was aware, and it was scared. He approached a massive console, covered in dust and scratches. His gloved hands brushed over alien symbols. The interface blinked faintly at his touch, responding to him. That was impossible. He didn't understand the language, but the ship seemed to understand him. A weak voice, deep and resonant, echoed in his mind. Help, please. Eli stumbled back. Telepathy? He shook his head. No, it's a projection, he whispered. Some weird AI thing. Help, human, please. It wasn't a projection. It was a plea. He realized with a start. The ship was alive, sentient, and desperate. Eli sank to the floor. Okay. Calm down, he said softly. I can help. I don't know how yet, but I will. The ship's hum strengthened slightly, like it had understood him. Eli felt a surge of purpose. A colossal warship pleaded for aid. A human mechanic transformed it into a galactic power. Eli Mercer adjusted his welding visor as the small salvage ship hummed quietly through the void. He sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the star map. Most systems were empty, lifeless stretches of space. That was fine by him. Empty space meant fewer complications, fewer pirates, and, sometimes, forgotten treasures. But this system was different. A faint distress signal pulsed on the sensors, slow and deliberate. Eli frowned. Old tech, he muttered. The signal had layers, patterns that didn't match any known communication protocol. It almost sounded alive. Alive? His co-pilot, a small hovering drone named K1, chirped. Signals don't talk. But this one, it's different. Like it's calling for help, begging for it. Curiosity burned in him. Most salvagers ignored signals like these. They were too risky. A wrong move, and you could trigger a trap, a minefield, or worse, wake something that didn't want to be disturbed. Eli, however, felt the pull. He had always been drawn to things others avoided, to machines, long abandoned and half dead. The sensors finally brought the object into view, and Eli froze. A warship. Not a small one, a colossal warship, drifting silently in the black, scarred by battle and time. Its hull was riddled with dents, burn marks, and jagged holes. Panels hung loose, cables floated like ghostly snakes in zero gravity. But despite the damage, there was something imposing about it, a sense of history, of power long lost. Eli's heartbeat quickened. That's no ordinary wreck, he whispered. This thing was a god once. Looks dead, it said. Why are you getting excited? Dead? Eli's eyes scanned the massive vessel. Look closer. This picked up faint energy readings. The ship wasn't dead. It was barely alive.